Good morning. In this video, we will continue the chapter 3 on computer function and interconnection. So now let's look into I/O function, input output function. The I/O module exchanges the data directly with the processor. It sends the data. Input device sends data to the processor. Output device receives data from the processor. A processor can read data from the input device or write data to the output device. Okay, first of all, processor has to identify the specific device that is controlled by the I/O module. Okay, actually remember, I/O devices are connected through the module to the processor. It's not straight away like your keyboard, it's not straight away connected to your processor. There is a I/O module in between the processor and the I/O device. So for this communication, sending data to the processor or receiving data from the processor, first of all, processor has to identify the device, input output device for that particular module, I/O module. And then I/O instructions rather than memory instructions. So it means to say for reading and writing, processor uses the I/O instructions like read, write commands. Okay. In some cases, it's desirable to allow I/O exchanges to occur directly with the memory. Okay. In some cases, we do that. Like processor gives permission to the I/O module, the authority to read the data from the or write the data to the I/O. Memory transfer can occur. Okay. So this is processor gives the I/O module the permission to read from or write to, so that the I/O memory transfer can occur without the help of the processor. Okay. So there is no processor in between. So you have your I/O module here and then your processor here and then memory. So this is your memory and let's assume that this is I/O. Okay, I/O, and this is the processor. So processor give permission to the I/O module to send data to the memory or to receive data from memory. Okay, so that's the idea. So an I/O module issues read write command to the memory, relieving the processor of the responsibility of exchanging data. So the I/O module issues, it reads the data or it writes something onto the memory. So the processor is relieved from this task. So this operation is called as direct memory access, because memory directly accesses the I/O without the intervention of the processor. So that's what you call direct memory access. So this is the idea of the module, like memory, I/O, CPU. I told you for the memory, the commands are read write. When you are going to read from memory, I need the address. Am I right? So for example, if the processor is reading a data from memory, it issues the read signal. And of course, it needs the address of the data in the memory, the location. And after reading, it is sent out. The data moves out. This is for the reading. Let's say the processor would like to write a data onto the memory. It sends the write request, write signal. And of course, it is going to write something on a particular location. What is the address of the location and what it is writing? The data to be written onto this location. Okay, there is no output. For writing, no output. Okay, for reading, yeah, we have an output. Okay, so what we need for writing, we need the signal, write instruction, and then the address where to write and the data what to write. Okay. Similarly, it goes with the I/O module. So when it is with the I/O module, the same happens. the read-write signal, and the address. Address means every I/O module has a specific number, okay, or like a unique address, because we have many input and output devices connected to your computer. So which input device it is now we are dealing with. Okay, so the address of that input device and the data, something like here, if you are going to read data or we are going to write data. Okay, then so the same goes here for the input module. The same goes with the CPU. For example, if I'm going to add two numbers, okay, so let's assume I'm going to add two numbers. So what is the instruction? Add instruction, and there are two values, that is the data and this interrupt signal. If you have any interrupts, we already studied interrupts in the previous class, okay, and the CPU performs the operation. Of course, it produces the data, the result, that is the data here. In case any control signals, is it the data going to be written onto the memory? There should be a control signal to write control signal or whatever. If it is to be written onto the memory, what address? In which address the data has to be written? The control signal for that operation and where to be written, the address and the data. Okay, now let's move on to the interconnection structure. So what are the interconnection structure that supports the transfers? There are 5 we need to know. They are memory to processor and processor to memory, and then I/O to processor and I/O to memory. I/O to processor and processor to I/O, and I/O to memory or from memory, something like that. The last one we will see after a while. Let's see the first one, memory to the processor. So from the name you can able to say the interconnection structure for the data transfer. So the processor reads an instruction of or a unit of data from the memory. So the data comes from memory. What it comes from memory? It can be an instruction or it can be a data. So processor take from memory. What it takes, what it reads an instruction or data. And the next one is processor to memory. So processor writes something onto the memory. Okay, and the next one, I/O to the processor. So the input output module sends some data to the processor. So in other way you can say processor reads the data. When you say processor to I/O, so processor is writing, sends data to the I/O device. And this one, I/O to or from memory. This is the one we studied in the previous slide, direct memory access. What does it mean? An I/O module is allowed to exchange the data directly with the memory without going through the processor. So there is no intervention of the processor. Without the intervention of the processor, I/O interacts with the memory to read a data or to write a data. Okay then, so this is about the interconnection structure for supporting the data transfer. So the next we move on to the bus, the interconnection network. So between the components of a computer system, there are some interconnection that what you call a bus. It can be a system bus or a data bus or an address bus. Okay, so that's the thing we are going to see in this slide. Actually, a communication pathway connecting two or more devices. Okay, that is what you call transmission medium, because this medium, that is the bus, it sends a data, it communicates between two or more devices. It sends a data from here to there or from there to here. Okay. The signals transmitted by any one device are available for the reception by all the devices. So in a bus, if many devices are connected here, let's say two more devices are connected, if a device sends a data on this bus, it sends a data on this bus, it can be received by this device or else by this device. So it is available for all the devices attached to the bus. So in this bus, what are all the devices connected? They can able to receive the data. If two devices transmit during the same time period, their signal will overlap. So let's say this device also sends data and this device also sends data onto the same bus. So the signals will overlap and become garbled. So there may be a loss of data. So let's assume that, so typically we will look into multiple communication lines. So the bus contains multiple lines. Okay, I was telling that there is a bus and many devices are connected here. When you are looking into a bus, it's not one line. Okay, the bus contains multiple lines. Like each line is capable of transmitting a signal representing 0 or 1. So one line for 1 bit data. So one line can transmit 1 bit data. If there are 8 lines, you can transmit 8 bit data at the same time. Okay. So the computer system contains a number of different buses. Of course, I told you a few minutes ago, data bus, address bus, control bus, whatever is it. So multiple different buses we have between the components. Okay. Let's see that example. Just a second. So let's assume that system bus. So here system bus, it's a bus that connects major computer components. So what are the major computer components? Of course, the 3 major components: processor, I/O, memory. So the bus connecting these 3 components is called system bus. So the most common computer interconnection structures are based on the use of one or more system buses. So you will be having one system bus or more system bus. So let's talk about the data bus. So data bus, it has data lines. I told you a bus contains many lines, multiple lines. So the data lines provide a path for moving the data between the components. Okay. So that's the idea of data bus. It may contain 32, 64, 180, 128, etc. etc. Remember, each line can carry 1 bit data. If I have 128 lines in the data bus, it can carry 128 bits at the same time. Remember that. So that's what you call number of lines in a bus is called width of the bus. Okay. So the number of line determines how many bits it can transmit at a time. So if I have 32 lines in a data bus, it can transmit 32 bit data at a time. So the width of the database is a key factor for the system performance. If you have more lines, more amount of data can be transmitted. So the performance of the system will be better. Okay, the more the lines the performance is better. Remember that point. Okay. So the next we move on to the, because we have many types of buses, like now we see address bus, control bus. So address bus, this is used to designate the source or destination of the data on the data bus. So it's used to designate the source or destination of the data, because where to write the data in memory. Like for example, you have just a second, you have a memory. I want to write some data in this I want something in this particular location. Okay, so the data bus carries the data. So where to put, memory contains many locations. In which location I am going to write the data? Every location has an address. You know that every location we have an address. Maybe this is address 0, address 1, address 2, address 3. So I am going to write on to this address 3. So the address bus contains the data. So that's the thing, it's written here. It's used to designate the source or a destination of the data. So where to put the source or from where I have to take. So for example, I have a data here. I want to read it. Read from memory. So from which location I am going to read? From this location. What is the address? Address 5. Maybe this is 4 and this is 5. So address bus contains the address from where I need to read the data or I need to write the data. Source or destination. Okay. If the processor wishes to read a word of a data from memory, it puts the address of that word onto the address line. Okay, this is what I was telling. So the width determines the maximum possible memory capacity of the system. Like for example, the address is, if it is a 3-bit address, so the address is of 3-bit, so the lines in the address bus will have 3 lines. Okay, so it depends on the capacity of the memory basically. If the memory is having, for example, let me tell you one example. If the memory is having 4 locations, capacity of the memory is 4 locations, for example, which is 0, 0, 0, and this is 0, 0, 1, and this is 0, 1, 0, and this is 0, 1, 1. Okay, like mean to say, what is the capacity here? 4 bytes can be stored, whatever is it. Okay, so how many bits you have? 2 bits. The first one is 0, so ignore that one. 0 means doesn't have any meaning. So what is the address bits? I need 2 bits. So the address bus will contain 2 lines for this memory, because this memory has only 4 locations. Okay, so what is the address of the 4 location? 00, 01, 10, 11. Can you get the idea? So depends on the capacity of the memory, the address bus contains the lines. Okay, also used to address the IO port. Okay, which IO port is going to give the data, or which IO port is going to take the data. I told you in few slides back, each IO module is having a unique address, because you have multiple peripherals connected to your computer. You have a keyboard, you have a mouse, you have a speaker, you have microphone, scanner, printer. All these peripherals are connected to your computer system. Each of them are called an input-output device. Keyboard is an input device, printer is an output device. So the module contains a specific address for each and every device. So from where I am reading the data, from where I am to where I am sending the processor going to print the data. So it needs an address of the IO. Okay, so address bus is used for the IO port also. So the higher order bits are used to select the particular module on the bus, and the lower order bits select the memory location. Okay, or the IO port, because it takes the data from the memory to the IO. So higher order bit contain the address of the IO, the particular module, and the lower order bits contain the memory location. Okay, so that it can take the data from memory, send it to the IO. So the address bus contains 2, higher order, lower order. And the control bus. So let's look into the control bus. Control bus is used to control the access and the use of the data and the address line. So this is the one controlling everything, controlling the data bus, controlling the address lines, everything. Because the data and address lines are shared by all the components, this must be means of controlling them. Just now I was telling 1 minute ago, let's assume that you have a bus and it is connected with many devices, and I told you if a device sends data, let's assume this device sends data on this bus. So this data can be accessible by this device, can be received by this device. So everyone have access to this data. So control bus is the one going to have the control over this data. Okay then, so control signals transmit both control and timing information among such module. Okay, so the data and address lines are shared by all the component. So there should be a mean to control your data. So this data is accessible by this module, this component, and this component. So control bus is the one controlling the data. Like it is the one telling that this data is for this device and this data is for that device. Also it has a timing information. So only for 1 minute the data will be available. After 1 minute the data will be gone. So timing signals are also there. So control bus contains all these things. Timing signal means it indicates the validity of the data. So the data will be valid only for 1 second or 2 nanoseconds, something like that. Control signals specify the operation to be performed also. Either this data goes here or the data comes from here, it goes here. So all these operation are also indicated by the control signal. So control signal specifies many things. So you can see an example of the buses here. We have the components like a CPU, I/O and the memory. CPU means the processor, memory, I/O, everything. Can you see the control lines between the components, address lines between the components, data lines? So that they are the buses. Okay. Now the chapter 3 is over. So this is what we studied in the chapter. We saw the computer components in the first part of the chapter 3 and the functions, computer functions. We saw I/O functions, we saw interrupt and we saw the fetch cycle and execute cycle. Do you remember the instruction cycle? The basic instruction cycle, also the state diagram with interrupt, without interrupt. And we saw the interconnection structures, also the bus interconnection. So this is about chapter 3.